And we can start the workshop. Hi and welcome everybody to the QE Tools Workshop on the 22nd of April 2022. Today we will have a topic led by Jan Bayer about qem-bot and qem-dashboard and the GitLab CI workflows connecting those. So I will disable my screen share and we will switch over to Jan. So Jan, you're already showing diagram. Good to go.
Yeah, good morning. I prepared some diagram about our so-called qem-bot and dashboard tools, which are basically some small parts which supposed to help during incident workflow. Basically, those two components are interconnected. As you can see from the diagram, qem-dashboard is just a fancy web interface around some database, and qem-bot is the workforce for it. Let's begin with introducing those two tools. So the qem dashboard is just a simple application in Modulicious. The source code is available on GitHub, and all what it does is just basically a list of active incident in the maintenance, as we see some statuses are here about each of one. Of course, we can also see some detailed information about each incident if we want to, and we should have pretty good idea about the state of each incident. Of course, there are some links which can show more information if needed, like the OpenQA links, which are the most interesting part. Dashboard itself does practically nothing besides showing those information. The main logic is hidden in the qem-bot, which was also open sourced recently. The bot, the jobs which the bot does are split it into our GitLab CI pipeline, and basically we have a few commands which are frequently run in the GitLab CI. I can show you the diagram back. So the first stage is to synchronize the data about the incidents from Smelt. And as the qem-bot is stateless, which I should point out, all the data are stored in the database in the qem dashboard. So we can run the qem-bot over and over. So the first step is synchronize data about the incidents. Then the second step, we need to schedule the tests in the OpenQA for each incident. We need to synchronize the results from the OpenQA about the incidents. And after that, if all tests are correct, we can approve the incident. So this is the qem-bot workflow, and we have it implemented in the GitLab CI. This is the overview of the schedule. There are a lot of jobs because we of course have more than one type of tests. You are probably familiar with that, hopefully. We also have difficult topic to discuss, commenting incidents in build service, which is currently inactive. And okay, we have different schedules for these jobs, and if anyone is interested, I think this page should be generally available for anyone, not only in the maintenance team. And you can see the logs from the CI job to see. That could be pretty interesting if you are debugging some problem with scheduling. We recently added a new feature in the OpenQA itself. If you open details about scheduling a job, we have new variables here. So you can clearly see which incident is this job about. You can open the incident in the smelt and of course in the dashboard itself. So you can by one click see that there are some waiting tests in the OpenQA for this incident to be approved. And of course, you can also see which GitLab pipeline scheduled this particular job, which is very, very important. So you can also open the GitLab CI log and see a lot of details about this particular OpenQA job. Well, and that's pretty much it. So if all goes well and all the scheduled incidents are green in the OpenQA, the qem-bot will fetch this incident from the database and will approve it in the build service, which is not on this diagram anymore. Maybe I can also point out that the QEM dashboard communicates with the qem-bot with an API. The API is available, but it's not used by anything else at this point, I think. But probably it could be used in the future. Yeah, one more thing. The synchronization of the OpenQA results is not done only by the qem-bot, so we don't need to wait for the qem-bot. There is also AMQP watcher in the dashboard, so as soon as the OpenQA job finished, there is an AMQP message from the OpenQA which will notify the dashboard about the results, and the dashboard will update itself. So the time loop can be pretty short here. Yeah, and now I'm finished probably. So I think it's good time to open a conversation. Yes, please.
How the maintenance.SUSE fit here?
Sorry, which domain?
The maintenance.SUSE.d.
Maintainer SUSE QE.
Yes,
Maintenance.
maintenance.
The smelt.
Maintenance SUSE is same as melt SUSE QE, right?
Yeah, that's smelt. So that's basically the main source of information about incidents going into maintenance. So that's basically the data source for the first job, synchronize smelt. I should maybe point out its synchronization from smelt, not to smelt. So the qem-bot will talk to maintenance SUSE QE and query information about new incidents going into the queue and push it into dashboard. So that's the connection. Yes, Roland.
So, what is the type of issues that you are reporting in Smelt? I'm not familiar with this system. So, are they bug reports, or what is the type of issue that is reported there?
Sure, we are talking about maintenance update here. So it's the whole new package basically.
So updates to packages for distributions like leap or sleep, not commonly not tumbleweed, because there you have you have upgrades, not updates, what it's called in a SUSE context, meaning where there are new releases of the product, basically.
Okay, so it is the preparation of a release, which then triggers the whole OpenQA test scenario here.
Yeah, multiple tests. The important distinction here is that for every maintenance update, that often affects multiple versions, like SUSE Linux Enterprise 15, SP3, SP2, and so on. So we trigger tests for each version. We also trigger tests which are specific for these so-called incidents. So they are incident tests, which only include this update. And then there are aggregate tests. Aggregate tests is something like the nightly build of all pending maintenance updates at that time. But of course, if these tests fail, then we need to find back, like, okay, now this nightly build fails, and it includes maybe 5, maybe 10 pending maintenance updates. The test fails. Which one is at fault? Is it one too many of these incidents?
Okay, thank you.
How the accident knows what test to run?
That should depend on first the settings in the smelts, to which product the package will go. And the second point where this is configured is qem maintenance data. So basically, we have a package which or configuration file maybe, which says to which qem job groups it should post. Basically that.
Is this the metadata repo?
Yeah, that's the famous QA maintenance metadata repo. So we have the information about every sleep product and the needed settings for OpenQA and so on. So that's consumed by the bot and used to transform the smelt data into OpenQA data.
I just go on here then. Just one short question. The synchronization or the communication between the qem-bot and the dashboard, at which stages does that happen? Or in other words, which information does the bot write to the dashboard SQL database?
I think you could show the actual log files from when that happens, Jan.
Yeah, probably yes.
I guess we have an let's say, a proficient enough audience that can bear reading log files if we explain it a bit.
The communication between is basically two parts.
Can you post the link also? Then we have the text and we don't have to look at your resolution is really low at the moment.
Sure. As I said, this one should be somehow reachable for those who are opposed to read that.
Yeah.
For the rest of you, I will try to.
Yeah, can you zoom in a bit? I mean, I can clearly read it, but it might be problematic. Yeah, 150 should be fine.
Unfortunately, it depends on what your bandwidth is. Depending.
I think you should be how to
I
hold
would
that away.
like.
Well, just go to one. Yeah, go to 120%.
So to the question, the communication. We are reading information from Smelt and we are pushing this into the dashboard. So basically the state of the incident itself. That's the communication in the synchronization Smelt job. And in every other job, this information is read from the dashboard back to the bot to have the knowledge about the current status of the incident. This is used by the bot to find out the right open QA job, fetch information about the QA job, and write it back into the dashboard. Read information from dashboard and use it. Step number 2, write the information or new information back to the dashboard.
Okay, wait a second. Are you using a structured or a semi-structured database?
Oh, you mean on the dashboard side?
Yeah. Especially when looking at the channels, is it an OSQL database and you just check if all of the provided channels there are kind of fulfilled, or do you have a static schema for it?
Well, dashboard itself does not care about the data much. So the format is very, I'm not sure if there is directly a JSON stored. I would have to look. Well, basically we can have a look because the QEM dashboard should be here and the SQL is fairly available. So as you can see, there is not much about the incidents itself because dashboard doesn't need to know the main here is in the qem-bot. The qem-bot needs to understand the channels. For the dashboard, it is only to show the correct links, and it is not smelt, so it doesn't need to know what it is showing.
Yeah, thanks.
This one should help you.
Yeah.
Is the test report somehow in there? One of the one of the things the bot does. How does the test report know about the OpenQA results?
Yeah, the test report and the template generator and entry part is completely separated and does not have anything to do with this workflow. Yes, there is OpenQA part in the test report, but that's done basically by the template generator, which just investigates which jobs are currently done and tries to download logs from the OpenQA in the time the template is generated. And the information about the OpenQA jobs is basically taken, well, the same way as M2 directly derivated from the incident number. So it's totally independent.
Thanks.
I still see what, so maybe Jose, you can ask.
Yep. Hello. My question is in some cases, not very often, that the tester triggered and some of the incidents is not existing anymore or not available, and then the job is failing because it cannot find the repository. Um, um, I would like to know why that happens, because if there is some failure in the synchronization, or maybe after synchronization, this repo was or the incident was deleted, what and how to mitigate this error. If we can retrigger the test somehow without that incident from the bot, or we need to do that manually.
Sure. You are basically asking about one issue we already have in our backlog and are trying to solve it. Maybe we already. Um, uh, this could be caused by two independent issues. One of it somehow after a while when the synchronization catches up. And the second thing we find out recently, there is still problem when the same incident re-enters the queue for the second time. Maybe because it is used for some reason, or was rejected at the first attempt, and now there is a second attempt for it. And in that case, it could also introduce some problems, because so far dashboard remembered the old settings and used it.
Okay.
That should be solved in a near future by deleting the data which are no longer relevant.
In some days.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And in line with this, do you consider that it would be nice to have some kind of job in this GitLab CI to be triggered only when this kind of situation happens, so that we don't need to, cloning the test without the incident or this kind of manual steps? And imagine there is some issue that affects some version, but all the jobs in that version, and that would be a pain to do it manually. So is there some kind of or are you considering to add some kind of GitLab CI job that can be triggered at this specific time manually, just running the job on the repository in GitLab to trigger a certain job with variables version whatever. Would be nice to have some kind of this flexibility when something happens and we don't need to wait for the next day, or we don't need to do things manually, retrigger jobs manually and so on.
I know what you mean, but I will answer with a different answer than you expected. All the jobs which are in the GitLab CI can be triggered manually or whenever you want, basically, and all the invoking can be also done manually with custom parameters. The main problem is that what you want is basically fetching the data from the dashboard, then changing them a little, and then posting them to OpenQA. So we would need to introduce some logic in the middle to, well, hide one incident, for example. That would not be that easy, I'm afraid. So currently, I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
But yes, you can probably try to run the pipeline yourself if you want. I think the blue run pipeline button should be available, and as you can see, we have automatically prefilled the needed things, so you can choose which subcommand you want, and maybe we can introduce some new variables. Sorry? It is possible to override a very variable for the qem-bot you want.
Sorry,
I
I think your audio is vanished a bit, but I think I got your point. But is my question here in this screen that you're showing this pipeline, is it possible to configure, for example, specific YAML from metadata so that it doesn't trigger all the jobs? I mean, imagine I want to trigger only SLE micro aggregates for 5.2 version only. Is it possible this way?
I think theoretically yes. The qem-bot has a parameter which points to the YAML metadata file, so you can probably put it there. The only thing which is missing, you need to put this new file into the image itself. But basically, if you will make a merge request into the metadata repository and introduce a new YAML file, then you should be able to use it in the bot.
Yeah, an alternative is to run qem-bot locally. It doesn't have any dependencies which is not already provided by base Python distributions. So
no, that is true, but is that safe to do? I mean, I stopped doing this the moment when I knew that the bot is communicating with an internal database. And if I run it locally and I fiddle around and I do whatsoever, then there's a high risk that I also taint the database.
That would be the dashboard's database for which to have an write access, you would need to have a token, which normally you don't have, right, Jan?
Yes, exactly. The dashboard database is basically read-only without the token, so you can use it. The bot will successfully connect to the dashboard and fetch information about the incidents, but will not be able to update the incidents with the OpenQA results or anything like that.
Yeah, so don't worry about that part. I would say the biggest impact you can have with having OpenQA credentials, which of course you would also need to trigger jobs accordingly. But there you could have a bigger impact by, scheduling 10,000 jobs and they're not caring about it.
So you can run the bot now without the need to provide the token.
Yes.
Oh, that is new. That is super nice.
I think you need to provide a token, but you can just put 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and so basically you need to provide an invalid token.
Yeah, there is a catch. The token is required, but it's not checked. So use whatever value you want as a token, and it should work.
You need to write as token value, I know what I'm doing. Then it works.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Wait, Ollie, can I add one thing?
Sure.
Yeah, the way how I always did it when I was scheduling a custom test run was the bot has the -c or minus configuration parameter, and you can use this one to point to a custom metadata directory. So what I was always doing is I just create a new directory and I just put the YAML file relevant for my test run in there, and then I could use the -c. Is it also possible to provide the link or a file instead of a whole directory? That would be indeed useful if whenever you want to run the pipeline, because so far I don't see any means by providing the -c to point at one specific YAML. You need to point to a directory.
I would say we are open for merge request.
Okay.
Wouldn't be that big of a thing, I would say, but I wonder about the use case. Why do you need a qem-bot at all and not just use existing OpenQA client commands like the commands that the bot used itself, copy paste that, adapt it, and then trigger, if it's just about triggering OpenQA tests?
Well, it goes together with the structure of the QAM dashboard. I mean, lately we had some issues when moving all the jobs together in one job group with the different versions. And there are just days where you don't schedule any test runs because of the aftermath of some changes there. And if we can use the bot in order to re-trigger those test runs, then we can not only re-trigger the test runs, but also have them in the dashboard, which means the auto approval process is unaffected by us screwing up some variables.
Yeah, that was actually exactly my question. So having a kind of a button or maybe this pipeline with some parameters where we can retrigger some jobs from specific metadata YAMLs.
Yeah, it seems to me that there should be a new feature request which will basically parameterize this -c to be something more than a directory from a metadata package. I don't know, maybe it could fetch the YAML file from HTTP, whatever. But something like that would make the process even more flexible.
Yeah. So I also understand what you're asking for, and I would say that sounds feasible. I still don't understand where that would be needed, where only a subset of something needs to be retriggered in this context.
For instance, you screwed up your public cloud test runs or the container test runs. You made a change to metadata or to one of the job group settings, and you would like to run those specific test runs for that day over one time more instead of waiting for tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, I understand that you don't need to wait a day. That does make sense. So in the specific example that you mentioned, does it involve that you need to reparse updated metadata? And this is why, the OpenQA client command, which is already in the logs, would have wrong settings, and you would like to re-evaluate the YAML files. Is that Felix?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah.
Okay, then I understand.
Jan,
Yes.
Just to think ahead, but please stop me if we are going too much into details. What would be cool is to add tags to the metadata YAMLs. With that, you could just specify perhaps the version and the tag, and we would not need to change the configuration location. But then you have an optional parameter. I'm thinking of something like minus tag and then public cloud or containers. And in the YAML file, you specify those tags. And if the tag is provided as a command line arguments, then the bot searches and matches for those tags and perhaps the version, and only schedules the ones that match.
That would be interesting, yes, but I don't think it's feasible at this point because that would mean a big overhaul of the bot, which, well, we are trying to not to do much changes in the bot as of now because the test suite is not really well extensive.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
If there is a new package, where is going to run against it? Or
I'm not sure I get your question.
the incidents run against whenever there's a new package, right? A new
Well,
update.
yeah, new maintenance update, yes.
And if there is a new, you want to add a new package, it doesn't run for all the packages, right? You specify the packages.
Well, it runs against everything what is in Smelt.
Can you show me? I'm a little bit confused.
Maybe Yanis, when
And
you're
yeah.
saying adding a new package, what do you mean? So there is a new update available, or what?
For instance, I don't think for HPC there is a for Spark. Let's say I want to add for Spark, but I guess no, yeah, not now, but in the future. For
Basically, if it ends up as a maintenance incident, or to be perfectly clear, submit request and release requests, it will be picked up by the bot and synchronized into dashboard as incident, and it will run OpenQA test against it. If those channels which are in the incident will be found in the metadata package, so the bot will know which OpenQA tests to schedule.
where do you submit the pull request?
For what?
You said you have to submit the pull request.
Not pull request, but the submit requests. I'm talking about the build service now.
Okay.
Because that's the first point which is happening on the Smelt side. I hope so, because I'm not really familiar with the workflow there.
And maybe, Jan, in these lines, so let's say the workflow is that we have a submit request on IBS, on OBS, and then the tester triggered with this incident, yeah, install the incident and the update and then run the test and so on. And let's imagine everything is all right, everything is green. And then the automation will pick it up and then it will automatically accept this submit request, or what will it do?
Well, the workflow is that, yes, you prepare some code changes, you will make a submit request into IBS, then someone from smelt, push it into dashboard, then it will schedule the OpenQA tests. Those will be green. The qem-bot will find out that all tests are green and will approve.
Only for that, it means that it will not be automatically accepted, but only approved, and means there is
Then,
approval
yeah,
needed by other groups. There's always the human
then
factor
you
to review.
then you will need to somehow convince someone from QEM SLE, probably, if you are targeting SLE, that your incident is all right, and they will, based on the data from the template generator, which we were also talking about a little, so they will decide if that's okay for them. We are now talking completely about the QEM OpenQA group, so this is automatic.
Okay, so what the bot is approving is actually the release request, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the submit request of the open issue, which is in IBS, it will be approved by some human, some team. Okay.
Yes, that's part of the maintenance team.
How are they informed about this that can be approved?
I hope the IBS does that.
Okay, so IBS posts some messages and then, yeah, okay.
Because they are the owners of the
Yeah,
request, so they should
that's
be notified.
basically the very same as in OBS everywhere else, where, you know, if you are a project or a package maintainer, then you will be,
Yeah. Okay.
You are responsible. Of course, it depends on your configuration. If you know, receive an email, or if you opted to subscribe to NQP events, or if you just use the web UI and go to open tasks, and then there's this to-do list. They select, there's this by Jose who still needs review.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, this whole diagram will end up as one comment in IBS saying the incident is approved by qem-bot or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Jan, what you could also show is what we have as recent features regarding, you know, the URLs which we add back. If you go to the, oh yeah, right there you have it. So how did you get to that page? Because, you know, the admin product log page is a bit
yeah. So I have here some tests, which I found out maybe through the dashboard, maybe not, I don't know. But there is a good link in the scheduled product, and this one shows the details about the scheduling. So it was scheduled 16 hours ago by the automation, and this is the pipeline which does that.
Yep. So if you follow that link, then we are back on a log file of qem-bot running in one of these commands, showing what it would retrieve as data, what it would post, and also what is the response like when it asks OpenQA to schedule certain jobs, and also what's visible on this page below the results is basically the linking point that qem-bot tells OpenQA schedule these jobs, and then OpenQA says like, okay, I got the task, and this page which you can see here is the scheduled product information. Yeah, of course, this answers, you're like, if you ever encounter a job and you would like to know like what scheduled that, what triggered that, and where can I adjust the settings, then this page should help. There can also be the other use case where you say like, I'm expecting a certain test job and it isn't there, right? Then there's no button to click on the non-existing OpenQA job. Then you would need to go to the GitLab CI pipelines and search for a specific incident maybe in the log file, and then you would see why it considers that incident, why it doesn't consider the incident. Yeah, maybe you have some examples ready. If you just take a look at the GitLab CI pipeline output,
Yeah.
what it shows there, because you know it says like which one it does trigger and which one it ignores and such. Yeah, for example, here you see this messages does not have x86 arch in 15 SP3.
I think it's not a secret. We are actively working on improving those messages to be even clearer than now. So basically, the first part of the log, you can see the reasons why something is not scheduled. And in the second part, you can see what is scheduled. So this one particular schedule run is posting 11 jobs into OpenQA. So
yeah, it's actually not 11 jobs, but what
yeah, that's
Andre
another
is
case.
rephrasing as products, because the bot doesn't know how many OpenQA jobs there will be. It tells OpenQA to like, okay, I have this 11 combinations of settings, which we call products. So 11 products to schedule. And then of course it depends on the schedule within OpenQA, how many jobs are actually expanded from that combinations.
Those are actually 11 OpenQA client executions.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's good. So
like 11 ISOs post, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like that one.
Well, this is one example. You can see in the log, it will post something. This is the data from the OpenQA dashboard, and then the next line is the OpenQA client call. So you can basically copy paste that and run it yourself.
Ah, this is very useful. I mean, I thought the ISOs post was not actually in the logs when I was searching for it. No?
Yeah, we added that some months ago that it's visible like this, and we mentioned it in the README file. Like, what if I want to reschedule a certain part and just adjust settings?
Well, basically, it's the every second line in those half a meg log files. So it's not easy to find, but they are there.
If I reuse this ISOs post and run it locally, just because of the example that Felix said before, will it these new test new jobs will be picked up by the bot and or by the dashboard? Better saying that, I mean, if the previous jobs are red and the jobs that I have triggered manually copying the ISOs post will be there reflected in the dashboard.
So first, your question was about is it picked up by the bot? So the bot doesn't have any state, so it's safe to do that from the perspective of the bot, right? From perspective of the dashboard.
I don't think it will be picked up because you have to also inform the dashboard about the OpenQA job. I'm a little bit guessing here, not sure exactly, but we can find out if you want.
In this, Jan, in this step, are we actually, what are we writing to the dashboard? I mean, we are not telling the dashboards like OpenQA job number 42 is running.
We are basically writing those information into OpenQA only. Is that possible? So maybe yes, maybe it will be picked up.
So I would say if you re-execute the very same line, then you will just create, you will obsolete the older jobs in OpenQA and you will create new clones of that. That will be pretty sure that this will be picked up by the dashboard, because the dashboard isn't receiving the individual OpenQA job IDs.
Yeah, so if you will stick up with the variables as there, so it should be picked up probably here. I was wondering about those parts in the QEM dashboard, because some settings are stored in the database and are needed to pick the correct jobs. But yeah, if you are not creative, you are probably safe to run it yourself, and it will be added.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so
If,
yeah, more.
yeah,
Go on.
well, I wanted to ask a small, yeah. And in this incident, we have this SM, and then we have the incident ID, and then we have another number, another ID. Is that the ID of the release request, or which ID is that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so yeah, just maybe for that's what my assumption, but never was sure of that. And just maybe for everyone, maybe you can show some of these examples in OpenQA. You were showing the scheduling of one of the jobs, maybe for everyone to understand a bit. So you have SUSE maintenance, and then we have the ID. So this is the same. The first one is the same that you can find in the build service, right? So
Yeah,
that's
that's the incident number. As you can see, it's
yeah,
also here
exactly.
in the smelt, and the second number is the release request number, which was created in the smelt firm, that incident, and one incident could potentially have multiple release request IDs because it's released multiple times. So
Okay.
yeah, there is one release request, and probably this, yeah, and this number should be the number from this. So that's basically it. And yes, the maintenance are interested to the whole release request ID.
Thanks.
No
That's
problem.
it.
Okay, cool. So we have actually, if you like, 2 more minutes for an outlook or further more futuristic ideas, maybe. Some random wishes we will gladly listen to and never implement. Besides that, Jan already mentioned what we are currently working on. So this is just rephrasing the log messages a bit, because we do consider what's available there to be the reference in the end, which people need to consult if the fancy UI parts don't answer all the questions. And the other feature that is being worked on, that is if older IDs are reused where there were some OpenQA test results already some months ago, then they shouldn't interfere with current results. Anton?
Is there a possibility that this would be integrated into the actual OpenQA with a nice?
Sorry, you're barely audible for me.
What?
I can't hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. Is there a possibility that all these nice things will be integrated into OpenUA proper and have a nice graphical UI and more pretty configuration, stuff like that, so that we don't have to edit YAML and hope for the best?
Yeah, I guess the latest part I consider the most important is that the changing something in a live repo without knowing in before if it is going to work is a thing. but what I see unlikely to happen is that we build what's there into yet another fancy UI. I already struggle. Honestly, I struggle already with the dashboard. Should it be part of OpenKA or not? We have to keep in mind that what we had been talking about today is very specific to the maintenance workflow of SUSE. Even so specific that it's not directly applicable to what is used as the maintenance process for OpenSUSE.
We should be. We should evangelize it so that everybody does it like we do. I'm joking. But yes, I think the last part is the most important part, and
Yeah.
something that I have struggled with,
Right.
as you know.
Maybe it ties back. Well, I see one potential improvement there a bit further in the future, though, which is that I would like to see that we can define everything regarding scheduling OpenKA tests in a clearly defined place for simple and single projects. That should be a single Git repository, which includes all the data, including everything that is nowadays stored in the OpenKA database. And if we have that, of course, we would like to provide means that you can test these changes before doing them in a live production environment. And I hope that something like this will also have positive benefits on what we mentioned here regarding the SUSE maintenance metadata that is then finally put into OpenKA tests for evaluation. Do you think that helps, or am I did I go the wrong direction?
Or I don't know, but if this is ever possible, but one of the things that would be really cool is to have the ability of performing a dry run on your settings changes. And this is not possible at the moment on the level of OpenQA. That you can do a ESOS post and it would behave like a real post, but it does not post any jobs. So that you can check if you have made any syntax errors, if the medium types are there, if everything works.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, but I wouldn't know where to stop, because we can conduct the ISOs post and show you the scheduled product page, but then you don't have jobs yet, so you don't know what the settings would be for evaluation. Do you know?
That's true, yeah.
So I was thinking of actually schedule the jobs, but put them somewhere else into a separate job group, and they are never actually executed. They are just scheduled.
Dry run job group, and that could be used for more stuff.
Yeah, right. But you need to show that result somewhere. You execute that dry run schedule call, but then where would you?
Can I ask
May
something?
I?
Sure.
Well, in my opinion, at least what I see around me is that people are actually moving out of the OpenQA settings towards Git YAML
Right.
configuration in Git. And what I like very much is that you can post your YAML back to the OpenQA during the integration process, so it is validated in the OpenQA. So for example, your flavors and machine type exists, and I prefer this.
Yeah.
At the end, I was a bit against, like a year ago or something, but now we basically define everything in the job groups using the YAML anchors, and
Yep.
we have just tried to avoid the machine types and medium types and stuff like that. And I started to like this method more. And that would maybe be also nice if something similar would be in the metadata for the bots. So there would be some more verifications. But yeah, I mean, I like the current status that it's in YAML, it's in Git.
Yep.
It has a CI. I like it more than those settings in the OpenQA.
Right. Yeah, that's one way which we wanted to foresee to make it possible. Okay, cool. So yeah, thank you for your ideas. Let's see what we can do there. I would like to just mention a short outlook to what will come in the next meeting. So next week we will have triggering multiple OpenQA jobs with a jobs post route. So a bit related to what we talked about, ISO's post. This is about, let's say, a bit of an alternative where you want to trigger multiple jobs, but using the jobs post route. That topic will be led by Marius Kittler next week. Okay, so thank you all for attending. Thank you, Jan, for leading that and giving us a nice introduction and overview. And see you again next time. Bye.